Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while. I honestly just haven't been thinking about making videos and I've been pretty busy, and then after that I got really sick, so that's been fun. But I don't plan on going anywhere again for that length of time. And I got a cool comment the other day asking what format you should buy what album on, which, while that is largely personal preference, obviously, I'd love to make a video about that because it's something I've thought of, and I'm pretty peculiar about tapes, CDs, and records. So let's get into this video and I'll go over to what my opinion is on collecting all this because I collect all these formats heavily. So, if you want to ask, what do I think makes for a great release to buy on tape? Well, my first answer is going to be stuff like this. We're going to do a demo. We're going to do Internal Bleeding, Invocation of Evil, for example, just for an example, OG tape. But you see, demos, brutal death metal demos from the 90s, I think fit the tape format so well. Ask me why, I don't know. They sound really good on tape, but a lot of them, this one, not a good example, but a lot of them have also been pressed on CD. But uh, something about the tape format and the big bold lettering on the side, it just fits the 90s aesthetic and the tape trading vibe, and it feels very authentic to 90s brutal death metal to me. And I think there's no better format than tape for getting BDM demos, sometimes EPs too. Like, for example, I have a CD of this as well, and I think you can't go wrong anywhere. But obviously, like Gradually Melted, another OG. But if you can get the OG tapes of these, you do it every time because they're just so cool, and you get the big letters on the side. Like I said, there's no records and CDs do not look as good lined up on a shelf as tapes do. Tapes are the king when it comes to like having your collection shown off on the side, and it's really cool to play a tape. Like, some people that are in their teens or even young, I don't know how young some of the people watching this are, but you may have never even played a tape before. And if you're scared of getting into tapes and you don't really want to, that's fine. I mean, like, they're a little they're a little more finicky than CDs and LPs, but like once you figure it out, it's not that hard. Everybody used to do it. It's a very, very fine format, and the good sounding tapes sound really good. OG tapes sound really good. I saw a Jimmy video about that a while ago. Um, OG tapes generally sound very good, it depends. I mean, I've had some old earache tapes that are the very. Roadrunner generally gets better mileage, stuff like that. Uh, what's a good example here? Yeah, like, aside from the BDM, just I think OG thrash metal tapes are really cool too. Like, uh, Sadist Swallowed in Black right here. OG. I don't know why, but it fits the time really well. And I just think this tape sounds incredible. I've never heard Swallowed in Black sound as good as on this tape. So, you really get hit or miss, and then you have other tapes, especially reissue tapes, that sound really bad. Um, and I know that they're getting harder to make now, so tapes have gotten pretty rare, and they're definitely not as cheap as they used to be. That's for damn sure. But when you buy tapes, I have some album from full lengths on tape, quite a few, but most of my tapes are demos or EPs, and the majority of the collection for me is like gore grind or brutal death metal stuff, or some black metal, like you know this EP of Black Perversion. This is a reissue, but it's very well done, and this is such a noisy EP. Obviously, I mean it's Have a Hedge. That it's okay. It sounds really good on tape though, and this the tapes aren't that noisy like people say they're. Like if they're like played through and they're just like done and used, like yeah, obviously, but if they're well taken care of and they weren't left in a hot car on a summer day, they're gonna be fine. And you're probably not going to outplay them realistically unless you you just listen to them repeatedly a lot. But if your collection keeps growing and it gets big, you're not really going to have time to keep listening to the same tape over and over again. It's hard enough to even listen to like some of your collection once, because they're like, at least for me, because it just grows so fast. And Embalmer Rotting Remains, I mean there's nothing cooler than this, because obviously you just get these cool ass OG tapes with nice lettering and stuff, and there's not a lot cooler than having the OG tape. And I think, like I said again, when it comes to death metal, OG death metal demos, especially brutal death metal, this is such a 90s format to me. In my mind just instantly puts tapes with brutal death metal demos, and that's kind of how I came up wanting to collect tapes. Is they're just that's just a nice thing to have right there, and they sound really fucking good. And the Gradually Melted I showed off a little bit earlier sounds amazing. So those are the types of tapes I would get. And again, with like Invocation of Evil from Internal Bleeding right here, this tape, I'll pull out a good example, because if you want the CD of this, I know they just reissued this in that box set, but I'm sure it's not as good as the OG. I don't know though. Hope it is to anybody who has it. But if you don't get the tape version, which is really cool, then you get this this on this slimline CD. And I'm not a fan of slimline CDs, so this is like obviously not Internal Bleeding. This is Cannibal Corpse, duh. But this is a slimline case, as many of you know, and like I don't know, they're just like I'm not a fan of slimline cases. So if you had to pick between giving me a CD of this or the tape, I'm already gonna pick the tape, because I'd rather have it than the CD, because it's a demo. For me, that's just what I prefer my demos on. But the fact that it's also a slimline, yeah, I'd much rather have a tape than a slimline jewel case. This is just like little collector nerd shit. Most people probably don't give a fuck about this and think that this is stupid, but it's fun for people like me and anybody else who's watching and interested in this, or just starting to get collecting. Because it can help narrow you down to like not try to buy 3 of the same thing, because I used to do that, and it's like you don't really need it, because you're not going to actually realistically listen to the tape, the CD, the record, and you don't need it. Like if you're not listening to it, don't buy it generally. Like I have very few things that are just wall for the wall, like maybe like a handful. I don't like buying stuff that goes on the wall. I like buying stuff that gets played. I don't believe, it's just not my thing. It's not just art, it's music. Anyway, good example. Let's get into the CDs now with that slimline. We'll go to another Cannibal. So Cannibal Corpse, there you go, bam. Guess what? This album, and as well as all the Chris Barnes with the OG logo, those have never been done officially with the OG layout and the OG art on vinyl. You've had your tapes, you've had your CDs right here, but you haven't had the records. The records for obviously not Eaten Back to Life or The Bleeding. Those aside, I meant to just say Tomb of the Mutilated and Butchered. My bad. So, Tomb of the Mutilated had the alternate cover art on the original, and Butchered at Birth had the censored cover, and then the insert just had the original cover without the logo on it. So, I mean, that's cool, but it's like, eh, eh, you know, like. Then I prefer CD. You get the OG logo, the OG art, all the cool stuff. You get the cool ass OG disc and stuff. That is cooler than having a generic record to me. And just for me, I actually happen to own a vinyl reissue too, but it's like the CD's cooler in this instance because it has the OG art and it has the album in the way it was meant to be displayed originally. And I think that's hard to beat. So, and again, with the CDs, kind of a similar thing I have to cassettes when it comes to brutal death metal and death metal is just I think this album fits on CD more than other formats. I used to have a cassette of this. It fits that too, but I don't know, just this album cover on vinyl, it just doesn't feel like a vinyl album to me. I don't know why. Some people might think that's stupid, but this is like a CD. This is a CD. Obviously, but you know what I mean. And like this, that's a CD type of album for me. This is a album I put on the CD and just I don't I just just get blasted like and vinyl vinyl pressings of either of those albums I just showed, they're likely going to be a digital transfer, so the vinyl is pointless anyway because it's just a copy off of the CD. It's digital. It's not analog made for the vinyl pressing. So there's no point. And this artwork generally just looks cooler. Another big one, Dehumanized, with Prophecies Foretold. This is the OG copy too. And wow, I don't know if you guys have seen the reissues on record, or I don't know if they did a CD with that reissue, but the record and the cassette are pretty atrocious. I don't know what the hell was going on with that, but you can't beat an OG. You get the nice letters here. So, brutal death metal, I think very much mostly to me a CD cassette type of genre, and it works for vinyl too. Like I have Brodekin LPs, I have Deeds of Flesh LPs, I got a MDK LP. I got plenty of BDM on it. Like it's by no means do I follow this strictly. This is just like a general thing. Because I don't know, some of the brutal death metal CDs are they're just they're just cooler than whatever reissue gets done on vinyl to me. Because I don't know, the vinyls generally like they don't have that like cult feeling to them when you get them, and like I don't know, there's just something off about them sometimes to me. And then a genre that works on all formats to me very much so is black metal like this. Black metal really, I don't know, it's like you throw it on cassette, CD, or fuck, vinyl. Yeah, it it kind of just suits all the formats for some reason. I don't know why to me, but like I said, it's not like a strict guideline because I don't have these rules even for myself. This is kind of just like how I think about it in my head. But I have stuff on all formats of every genre. And then Another CD I'll show here a little different is Black Sabbath Dehumanizer. And I want to point this out because this is a double CD, so you get a lot of bonus tracks. And this is a digipack or digibook or whatever. But I don't always hate digipacks. I mean, I generally try to avoid them, but like when it's like this and it's limited and you get a double CD, sometimes you get a DVD. I kind of like that stuff because why wouldn't I want more songs? Unless the songs are crap, then I kind of stay away from them and I just try to find a copy that's just one disc and in a jewel case or on the LP. But I don't know. This is just the exception and kind of where I would like go to I don't know, it just this sounds really good and you got to pay attention to remasters or original audio and like where the source is from and it's all going to be different. So, just a little guideline, but that's why I would have that on CD cuz it's a double disc. And sometimes that is worth it to me. And then vinyl. I'm going to come right out of the gate with a obvious choice of what type of vinyl that everybody should get on record. And that is something like this copy of um, Defenders of the Faith by Priest right here. This is a must-have on vinyl. This is OG copy too. Very good condition, and this is like such an obvious thing to get on record, like classic heavy metal, thrash metal, black and thrash, all this type of stuff, like your Sodoms, Destructions, Creators, Judas Priests, Dios, Maidens, Frosts, Venoms, Destroyer 666, anything like that, Slayer, Metallica, that stuff is vinyl. Blasphemy, Merciful Fate, all this stuff screams vinyl. Sarcophago, Morbid Saint, just the list goes on and on and on and on and on. But yeah, like this is a vinyl album to me, Defenders of the Faith. And hopefully I'm like explaining this good enough to where you guys can like kind of see what I'm trying to say when I'm like representing these albums and saying why I buy them on the respected format that I'm showing them on. Then another thing that works on all formats, in my opinion, is old school death metal, like Desultory, Into Eternity. Interesting example I picked, I know. There's the back, but I think old school death metal, you can't go wrong. I think old school death metal, CD, cassette, vinyl, I don't think it matters, dude. I think old school death metal feels right. It just feels right on all these formats to me, no matter what it is. So you just, I can't go wrong with it. Now, for this one's a funny one because it kind of goes against what I was saying, but here's one of the exceptions is something like She Lay Gutted. See, if you get something like an album, there's certain albums and certain bands, and this is where I make a lot of exceptions for stuff. Like I love this album so much, and I need it on vinyl. I need it. Like it's a must, and it kind of leads me to another point that vinyl should also be reserved kind of to me for songs that or for albums that you don't want to skip a single second of. Like it should be pristine albums. Like for like this album, it's like I don't want to skip any moment of this. And most albums I don't really want to. Like I don't buy albums that have duds on them. But some of the albums that I have on CD are like there's a few songs that are like, it's okay, like kind of in one ear out the other, but it's okay. I still don't skip it, but I usually reserve records for, I gotta love it. I gotta love the record to have it on vinyl. and just so happens I have a lot of vinyl because I love a lot of records. But you gotta put those, you gotta make sure you have quality over quantity, because you're gonna have quantity no matter what. If you get into collecting, it's gonna build up. So make sure that you prioritize, because you're gonna end up with a lot of albums that are just okay. And you're gonna discover over time that they weren't that great, and that you should have just stuck to the stuff that you really, really like, and not just what other people told you to go buy. Or, you gotta love the stuff that you love yourself more than anything else, or what any other hype is or trend or whatever shit's going on. You gotta listen to yourself before anybody, you know. Um, Another cool genre, gore grind stuff. This is another genre that I think fits all the formats very well. But like Hemorrhage, for example, I like them on record because they're very punky. So that's another thing. It's like that garage sound, that punky sound, I think suits vinyl to me. I don't know why. It just does. And this sounds really good. And you get bonus tracks on this, so there you go. Um, that's a whole nother thing. It's like, do you want bonus tracks? Because sometimes a record will have bonus tracks that a CD doesn't, or vice versa. Generally, the CD does and the record doesn't, but it goes both ways nowadays, I guess. And last one I will show off is this one. A great thrash album, Toxic World Circus. Do I even need to say why you want an album like this on vinyl? I mean, thrash metal is kind of made for this format to me. I mean, there's nothing like putting a thrash metal record on and just playing it and headbanging, like, and these awesome photos and pictures, and it just sounds great. But again, at the end of the day, that's all I can do to give a guide for like deciding by genre what to put what to buy each album on, or each release. But it's going to largely come down to personal preference, obviously, and also every album is made differently with different levels of love and different levels of care. And did a fan make the pressing, or did some corporate guy make the pressing who doesn't give a shit about the band? That's all going to come into play, because at the end of the day, it's like it's not all made equal, like I said. So take what I said with a grain of salt. This is kind of just a fun video to make, and hopefully it's helpful in some way. But you gotta make your own decision on this stuff, guys. Very, very fun though. I will be back with another video, and thank you guys for 3,000 fucking subs. I need to make a video talking about that, and I have some other ideas coming up soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.